The afternoon sun painted the sky of Chicago with orange hues as William Thompson passed through the gates of Oakwood Cemetery. At 75, his face bore the marks of a prosperous life in business, but also the weight of loneliness that had followed him since the passing of his wife Eleanor 3 years prior. His footsteps echoed along the stone paths as he held a bouquet of white orchids, her favorite. The ritual repeated every week. William always arrived at the same time, with the same flowers, and spent hours talking to Eleanor as if she were still there. To the cemetery staff, this elegant gentleman, owner of one of the largest fortunes in the country, was just another devoted widower, honoring the memory of his beloved. That afternoon, however, something would be different. As he arranged the flowers in the marble vase, his fingers noticed a slight irregularity on the plaque covering the tombstone. In 3 years, he had never noticed that detail. Intrigued, he examined it more closely and realized that one of the edges was slightly loose. Strange, he murmured to himself, running his fingers over the surface. Carefully, he pressed the area, and to his surprise, a small compartment was revealed. Inside, he found a yellowed envelope, aged by time, and an old key, apparently to a bank safe. With trembling hands, he opened the envelope. Inside was a note written in Eleanor's unmistakable handwriting. "This is the key to the truth you deserve to know. When you're ready, look for safe 247 at the First National Bank of Austin. Forgive me for keeping secrets, my love. Some things need the right time to be revealed." William sat on the stone bench in front of the tomb, feeling his heart race. In 42 years of marriage, Eleanor had always been a discreet woman, but he had never imagined she could keep secrets so significant that she would leave posthumous clues. That same night, in his mansion in the Upper West Side, William couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned in the king-sized bed, now too large for one man, as his mind buzzed with questions. Why had Eleanor chosen Austin? What could be so important that it had to be kept secret for so long? The next morning, during breakfast on the balcony overlooking the winter garden, William received a visit from his granddaughter, Emily, a 28-year-old journalist who had inherited her grandfather's determination and her grandmother's sharp intuition. She was the only person in the family who had maintained a genuine connection with him since Eleanor's passing. "Grandpa, you seem different today. Did something happen?" asked Emily, noticing the restlessness in her grandfather's hands as he unnecessarily stirred his coffee. William hesitated for a moment. Emily had always been his confidant, the granddaughter who most resembled Eleanor in personality and character. After a few moments of silence, he decided to share his discovery. "Your grandmother, she left something for me. Something I found yesterday," he said, pulling the key and the note from the pocket of his silk robe. Emily examined the objects with professional interest, her eyes gleaming at the possibility of a mystery to be unraveled. "A safe in Austin? Grandma never mentioned anything about that." "Never," replied William, running his hand through his graying hair. "In all these years, Eleanor never spoke of having any connection to Austin, at least not that I can remember." "And are you going there?" asked Emily, already knowing the answer from the determination she saw in her grandfather's eyes. "I am. I need to know what truth Eleanor wanted me to discover. But first," William paused, looking intently at his granddaughter. "I need your help, Emily. Your grandmother always said you had the gift of seeing beyond appearances, just like her." Emily held her grandfather's hand affectionately. "Of course I'll help, Grandpa. When do we leave?" "Tomorrow," replied William, feeling a mix of apprehension and hope. "I'll ask Michael to prepare the jet." That night, as he packed a small suitcase for the trip, William found an old photo of Eleanor. In it, his wife smiled with that mysterious gaze that had always intrigued him, as if she held sweet secrets only she knew. Now, that same gaze seemed to carry a different weight, a deeper mystery about to be revealed. The Thompson family's private jet landed at Austin Airport in the early hours of the morning. William and Emily were greeted by a discreet driver, hastily hired to take them to the city center. During the ride, the billionaire observed through the window the changes time had brought to the region, which decades ago was just another small town in the interior of Chicago. "Did you never come here with Grandma?" asked Emily, breaking the contemplative silence that had settled since takeoff. "No," replied William, adjusting his impeccable suit. "Eleanor mentioned a few times that she had distant relatives in the area, but she never showed interest in visiting. Now I wonder if there was another reason." The First National Bank of Austin occupied a historic building in the central region, an imposing early 20th century structure that maintained its original architecture. As they entered the main lobby, they were greeted by Olivia Johnson, the senior manager, who had been informed about the important client's visit. "Mr. Thompson, it's an honor to have you here," said Olivia, leading them through corridors adorned with marble and fine wood. "I must admit I was surprised by your call. Safe 247 is one of the oldest in the bank, registered over 40 years ago." William and Emily exchanged meaningful glances. 40 years coincided with the period before Eleanor married William. The manager led them to the vault room, a chilled and silent environment in the bank's basement. "I'll leave you to it," said Olivia, after opening the first lock with her master key. "When you're done, just call me." With slightly trembling hands, William inserted the key they had found at the cemetery. The mechanism turned smoothly, as if it had been recently lubricated. Inside the safe, they found an old wooden box, exquisitely carved, and a thick envelope addressed to William. Emily helped her grandfather remove the items and placed them on a nearby table. William opened the envelope first, pulling out a handwritten letter and several old documents. "My beloved William," the letter began, in Eleanor's elegant handwriting. "If you're reading this, it means you found my message and had the courage to seek the truth. There is so much I need to tell you, things I've carried with me for decades, protecting not just myself, but especially you and our family." William had to pause, his vision blurred by held-back tears. Emily held his hand, giving him strength to continue. "Inside this box," the letter continued, "you will find my diary from the 1970s before we met. In it, there are mentions of a name, Sebastian. Don't be alarmed by what you'll discover, my love. Every secret kept had a purpose, and Sebastian was just the beginning of a story much larger than the two of us." As William read the letter, Emily examined the wooden box. Inside, besides the mentioned diary, there were old photographs, yellowed, newspaper clippings, and a small notebook filled with codes and numbers that made no immediate sense. "Grandpa, look at this," said Emily, showing him one of the photos. In it, a young Eleanor, probably in her early 20s, stood next to a well-dressed man in front of an old mansion. On the back of the photo, there was only a date, March 15th, 1975, and a note, "Project S in progress." William examined the photograph carefully. The man next to Eleanor seemed vaguely familiar, but he couldn't quite place where he had seen him before. He continued reading the letter. "You've always wondered why I insisted so much on hiring Michael Anderson as our chief financial consultant. The truth is that Anderson holds connections to my past, connections that you now need to uncover. Look for him, but be cautious. There are people who prefer certain secrets to remain buried." Emily, who was flipping through the diary, let out a surprised exclamation. Grandma mentioned secret meetings at Oakwood Manor. Do you know that place?" William furrowed his brow. "Anderson mentioned that mansion once, said it was a historic property that belonged to one of the most influential families in the Hayas area, but why would your grandmother be having meetings there?" At that moment, they were interrupted by a knock at the door. It was Olivia, the manager, looking slightly nervous. "Mr. Thompson, I apologize for the interruption, but there's someone looking for you. Michael Anderson is in the bank lobby and insists on speaking with you urgently." William and Emily exchanged glances, surprised. How did Anderson know they were there? And why the urgency to meet them? The mention of his name in Eleanor's letter and his sudden appearance couldn't be a mere coincidence. Michael Anderson waited in the main lobby of the bank, his imposing figure contrasting with the evident restlessness in his gestures. At 68, the most respected financial consultant in the country still maintained the elegant posture that characterized him, but something in his gaze betrayed an unusual concern. "William, we need to talk," Anderson said as soon as he spotted his longtime friend. His eyes lingered for a moment on Emily, as if assessing the young woman's presence. "In private, if possible." "What I have to discuss," I can do in the presence of my granddaughter, William replied firmly, pointing to the discreet sofas in the corner of the lobby. How did you know we were here, Anderson? The consultant adjusted his burgundy tie, a nervous habit William knew well. I have my contacts. When I heard you were coming to Austin, I figured, well, that she had finally decided to reveal everything. Emily leaned slightly forward, her journalistic instincts sharpened. She who, Mr. Anderson? My grandmother. Anderson sighed deeply, looking around before speaking in a low voice. Eleanor was more than just your grandmother, Emily. She was one of the most brilliant people I've ever known, and also one of the bravest. Did you know about the vault? William questioned, his eyes fixed on his old friend. I knew much more than that, Anderson replied, running his hand through his greying hair. Eleanor made me promise to keep her secrets until she decided the right time to reveal them. I see that this moment has come. William took the photo found in the safe from the inner pocket of his jacket and showed it to Thompson. Who is the man next to her in this photo? The consultant examined the image with a serious expression. That's her father, Richard Almeida. A complex man, to say the least. He owned Oakwood Manor and, well, let's just say his activities weren't always strictly legal. Why did Eleanor never tell me about him? Asked William, feeling a pang of hurt. Because she wanted to protect you, replied Thompson. Richard was involved in a financial manipulation scheme that affected several major companies in the 70s. Eleanor found out everything and Thompson was interrupted by a shrill sound. His phone was vibrating insistently. When he checked the screen, his face turned pale. We need to get out of here now. What are you talking about? Emily questioned, but Thompson was already on his feet, guiding them toward the back exit of the bank. There are people who have been monitoring this safe for years, Thompson explained, as they hurried through a service corridor. People who have a lot to lose if certain documents come to light. Eleanor knew that. That's why he chose this moment 3 years later to reveal everything. In the back parking lot, a black car awaited them with the engine running. Get in, commanded Anderson. I'll take you to Oakwood Manor. There's something there you need to see. During the drive, Anderson explained that Eleanor had worked as an undercover financial investigator in the 70s, using the alias Sebastian. Her mission was to gather evidence about a corruption scheme involving some of the country's largest companies. But how does this connect to the company I built? Asked William, recalling the early years of his business. Anderson exchanged a meaningful glance with him through the rearview mirror. Remember how you landed that big contract in 1978? The one that launched your entire empire? William felt a chill run down his spine. That contract had been a turning point in his career, seemingly a matter of luck and skill. Are you saying Eleanor? She made sure you won that bid, Anderson confirmed. Not because she was dishonest, but because she knew you were the only businessman honest enough to do what was right with that project. The car continued down a dirt road, lined with century-old oak trees. In the distance, a grand structure began to emerge, Oakwood Manor, a colonial-style mansion that seemed to hold all the secrets of the past. Why are we going there? Asked Emily, noticing the growing tension in the air. Because that's where it all began, Anderson replied, parking the car, and where Eleanor left the final pieces of the puzzle. But we need to be quick. We're not the only ones interested in the secrets of this place. As they walked toward the manor, William noticed another vehicle approaching on the road. Thompson also noticed and quickened his pace. Hurry, get inside. It seems our unwelcome friends have arrived earlier than I expected. The interior of Oakwood Manor was a journey through time, furniture covered with white sheets, foggy mirrors, and the distinct smell of a long-abandoned house created a dense and mysterious atmosphere. Thompson led them through a wide hallway, his hurried footsteps echoing on the wooden floor. You're not the first to seek answers here, said Thompson, as he removed an old painting from the wall, revealing a built-in safe. Eleanor turned this place into a living archive of everything she discovered. Emily observed every detail with attentive eyes, her journalistic mind cataloguing every piece of information. How did Grandma manage to keep all of this a secret for so long? Your grandmother was an extraordinary woman, replied Thompson, deftly manipulating the safe's combination. She created a protection network so complex that not even the closest people suspected her true role. The safe opened with a metallic click, revealing several folders organized chronologically. Thompson pulled out a specific one, dated 1978, the year of the contract that changed William's life. "Before I show you this, I need you to understand something, William," said Thompson, his voice heavy with seriousness. "Eleanor made difficult choices, but always with the greater good in mind. She believed in you more than anyone else." Downstairs, the sound of doors opening silenced everyone. Multiple footsteps echoed through the manor. Thompson quickly placed the folder in his executive briefcase and locked the safe. "There's a way out through the back," he whispered, guiding them through a side corridor. "Eleanor installed a tunnel system during the renovation of the manor. That's how she managed to come and go unnoticed during her investigations." As they moved silently, William absorbed every new detail about the woman he had been married to for so long. How had he not noticed? How had he missed the signs? The tunnel was narrow but well maintained, lit by old emergency lights that still worked. Thompson explained as they walked. Eleanor discovered that several major companies were involved in a bid-rigging scheme. Her father, Richard, was one of the key players. When she gathered enough evidence, she faced a moral dilemma: expose her own father or find a way to fix the system from within. "And she chose the second option," Emily added, starting to understand. "Exactly," Thompson confirmed. "She met your grandfather during one of those investigations. William was different from the other businessmen, principled, visionary. Eleanor saw in him a chance to change things for the better." William stopped abruptly. "Are you saying our relationship started because of her investigations?" Thompson smiled sadly. "It started that way, yes. But Eleanor always said falling in love with you wasn't part of the plan. It was real, William. Every moment was real." The tunnel led to an old, long-decommissioned machine house near a creek that ran through the property. Through cracks in the wooden walls, they could see two black cars parked near the main entrance of the manor. "Who are they, Thompson?" asked William, watching men in suits step out of the vehicles. "Representatives of powerful people who were exposed in Eleanor's investigations," replied Thompson, checking his phone. "They suspect there might be incriminating documents here." "And are there?" questioned Emily. Thompson nodded gravely. "Your grandmother built a solid case against dozens of corrupt businessmen and politicians, but instead of exposing everything at once, she chose a more subtle path. Using her influence and her husband's position, she gradually undermined their power." "The Eleanor Thompson Foundation," murmured William, a sudden realization hitting him. "All those corporate transparency and business ethics projects, they were part of her plan," confirmed Thompson. "Every initiative, every social project, every reform you implemented in the companies you acquired, it was all part of a larger strategy to clean up the market from corrupt practices." A nearby noise startled them. Thompson quickly consulted an old map he carried with him. "There's an alternate exit that leads to the secondary road. We need to move. I have a car waiting there." As they moved, William held tightly to the folder containing the 1978 documents. His heart was heavy with the revelations, but he also felt a growing pride for Eleanor. She hadn't just built a life with him, she had built a legacy of positive change. "Thompson," called William before they left the engine room, "why did Eleanor choose this moment to reveal everything? Why 3? Years later, the consultant hesitated for a moment before answering. "Because the last of the old conspirators is about to assume a position of power that would make everything much harder to expose." Eleanor knew this. She planned every detail, including the exact moment you would find that key. The car Thompson had arranged was waiting exactly where he said it would be, camouflaged among the trees on the side road. It was a discreet model, unlike the luxurious vehicles William usually used. As they drove away from Oakwood Manor, Emily opened the folder they had retrieved, spreading the documents across the back seat. "This is incredible," she murmured, examining the papers. Grandma documented everything meticulously, every meeting, every suspicious transaction, every person involved in the scheme. Thompson drove cautiously, constantly checking the rearview mirror. Eleanor had her own method of investigation. She didn't just record the facts, but also created connections that no one else could see. William picked up one of the documents. That caught his attention, a report dated 2 weeks before that crucial contract in 1978. In it, Eleanor detailed a meeting between industry executives, including Victor Castellano, the current chairman of the Business Ethics Council. "Victor?" William frowned, surprise evident in his voice. "But he's always been one of the biggest advocates for corporate transparency." Thompson let out a bitter laugh. "It's amazing how people can craft perfect masks over the years, isn't it? Victor Castellano is the last of the old conspirators Eleanor mentioned. In 2 weeks he assumes the presidency of the Financial Regulation Commission." "And that would allow him," Emily began to say, the pieces falling into place in her mind. "To rewrite the rules," Anderson completed. "With that power, Victor could not only cover up past crimes, but also create loopholes for new schemes." William continued reading the documents, each page revealing more about the man he considered an ally. Victor had been present at crucial moments in his business life, always offering advice and support. Now he realized that every gesture of friendship might have been calculated. "Here," said Emily, holding a smaller envelope she found among the papers. "It has Grandpa's name on it." Carefully, William opened the envelope. Inside, there was a letter written by Eleanor, dated just a few weeks before her passing. "My beloved William, if you are reading this letter, it means the moment I so feared has come. Victor Castellano is not who he appears to be. He has been present in your business life not by chance, but by the design of the group I have always tried to fight. When I uncovered the corruption schemes in the 70s, I realized I needed someone with moral strength and business acumen to change the system from within. You are that person, William, but Victor was assigned to monitor your every move, ensuring you would never discover the true extent of their power. The 1978 contract was a risky move on my part. I used insider information to ensure you would win the competition, not to benefit you personally, but to position someone of integrity in a strategic place. Over time, your genuine success and unwavering ethics began to unsettle the group. Victor is about to gain unprecedented power. He holds documents that could compromise not only his reputation, but also yours, my love. He has always known how to use this as leverage for his silence. In the safe at Oakwood Manor, I left enough evidence to expose the entire scheme. But the decision to use them must be yours. I know the price this could have for our family, for the empire you built with so much effort. Forgive me for never having told you before. Every moment of our love was true, every smile, every shared dream. You taught me that it's possible to do the right thing even when the world conspires against it. With eternal love, Eleanor." The silence in the car was heavy. Thompson was now driving toward the city, taking alternate routes to throw off any possible pursuers. William folded the letter carefully, his face a mask of restrained emotions. "Victor always knew," he said finally, his voice laden with controlled anger. "All those board meetings, all those dinners at his house, he was watching me. And now he knows we've uncovered everything," added Emily, concern evident in her voice. "Those men at the manor probably work for him." Thompson took a sharp turn, entering a quiet residential street. "I have a safe place where we can review the rest of the documents, but we need to act fast. Victor has eyes and ears everywhere." "No," William said firmly. "No more hiding. Helena spent her entire life fighting this corruption in the shadows. It's time to bring everything into the light." Emily held her grandfather's hand. "Are you sure, Grandpa? This could cost you everything you've built." "Your grandmother sacrificed a lot to protect what is right," replied William, a new glint of determination in his eyes. "I can't do any less than that. Thompson, take me to Victor's office. It's time for a frank conversation between old friends." The building that housed Victor Castellano's office was one of the most modern in Chicago, a glass and steel tower that rose imposingly in the heart of the financial district. As they entered the executive elevator, Thompson tried one last time to dissuade William. "We can still handle this another way," he argued. "Eleanor left other paths prepared." "Eleanor spent too much time in the shadows," replied William, adjusting the folder with the documents. "It's time to bring everything into the light." Emily watched her grandfather with a mix of pride and concern. In just a few hours, he had discovered that his entire life had been shaped by forces he hadn't known about, and yet he maintained an admirable dignity. Victor's office occupied the entire top floor. His secretary, surprised by the unexpected visit, tried to stop them. "Mr. Castellano is in an important meeting." "The meeting has just been cancelled," interrupted William, his voice carrying an authority that made the secretary step back. Without waiting for a response, he pushed open the double doors to the main room. Victor Castellano stood by the panoramic window, as if expecting them. At 73, he maintained the elegant posture and calculated smile that had made him a respected figure in the business world. "William, my old friend, what a pleasant surprise." "Spare me the act, Victor," said William, placing the folder on the mahogany table. "I just got back from Austin." Victor's smile faltered for a nearly imperceptible moment. "Ah, I see, so Eleanor finally decided to share her conspiracy theories." "Theories?" William opened the folder, spreading out the documents. "We have records here, Victor. Meetings, transfers, names. Eleanor documented everything." Victor examined the papers with apparent disinterest. "Impressive how Eleanor managed to build this entire narrative. I've always admired her creativity." "Enough of that," Emily intervened, her voice trembling with indignation. "You know it's all true. My grandmother uncovered your schemes decades ago." Victor sat back in his chair, his eyes locking onto Thompson. "Michael, old friend, I thought you understood the importance of maintaining certain balances." "The only balance that matters is between right and wrong," Thompson replied. "Eleanor made me see that." "Ah, Eleanor," sighed Victor, a hint of genuine admiration in his voice. "She was truly extraordinary. Did you know I spent years trying to figure out who Sebastian was? The best investigator I ever faced." William picked up the letter Eleanor had left for him. "You manipulated my entire life. Every contract, every major decision." "Manipulated?" Victor chuckled softly. "My dear William, I gave you opportunities. What you did with them was your own merit. Your success is legitimate." "Based on a lie," William shot back. "No," Victor leaned forward. "Based on your own talent. Eleanor saw it before anyone else. Why do you think she chose you? It wasn't just your impeccable character. It was because she saw in you someone capable of truly changing things." Emily, who had been discreetly examining the room, noticed something. "Grandpa, look at that painting." On the wall behind Victor, an old painting depicted Oakwood Manor in its glory days. In the lower corner, almost imperceptible, was a signature: Eleanor A. Castellano. "Yes," confirmed Victor, noting the discovery. "Eleanor was my sister." The shock of the revelation hit William like a physical blow. Victor continued, "Our father Richard raised us in the world of business. I embraced the system. Eleanor chose to fight it. When she met you, William, I realized I needed to keep you close. Not to harm you, but to protect all of us." "And now?" questioned William. "Will you use your new position on the commission to keep protecting the corrupt?" "Now." Victor stood up, walking to a disguised safe in the wall. "I'm going to give you a choice, the same one I gave Eleanor years ago." He pulled an old file from the safe. "Here's everything that could compromise us, all of us. You decide, do you want to be the hero who exposes a decades-long scheme and destroys your own reputation in the process, or do you prefer to remain the respected businessman who uses his power for gradual change?" William took the file, feeling its weight, not just physical, but moral. "What choice did Eleanor make?" "She chose you," Victor replied softly. "She chose to protect your future, your reputation, but she left a contingency plan in case things spiraled out of control." "And they did," Thompson added. "Your appointment to the commission was the trigger she anticipated." Victor smiled sadly. "Eleanor was always the smarter of the two of us. She knew this day would come. The question is, what are you going to do about it, William?" The sun was beginning to set over Chicago as William, Emily, and Anderson left Victor's building. The weight of the two folders, one containing Eleanor's investigations, the other with Victor's incriminating documents, seemed to grow heavier with each step. They decided to head to Anderson's place, a discreet apartment in the Upper West Side that served as his private refuge. This revelation about Victor being Grandma's brother, Emily broke the silence as Anderson prepared a strong coffee for everyone. It changes everything, doesn't it? William was seated in a worn leather armchair, flipping through Victor's documents. Each page revealed more about how his business success was intertwined with the system Eleanor had tried to fight. It changes things, and yet it doesn't, Anderson replied, returning with the cups. Eleanor knew this moment would come. That's why she left so many clues, so many different paths. She wanted me to choose, William murmured, his voice heavy. With understanding. She wasn't just protecting the truth, she was giving me the chance to decide what to do with it. Emily sat down beside her grandfather, examining an old photo she had found among the papers. In it, a young Eleanor smiled next to Victor in front of Oakwood Manor. They looked so alike, the same determined eyes, the same elegant bearing. What happened between them, she asked. How did two siblings end up on such different paths? Anderson sighed, leaning back in his chair. Eleanor told me this story once. After their mother passed away, Richard Almeida raised his children in the world of business. Victor embraced that life, seeing the manipulations and schemes as a necessary part of the game. Eleanor, well, she saw beyond it. And now Victor wants me to make the same choice she did, said William, standing up to walk to the window. The city stretched out before him, millions of lights shining in the approaching night. Not exactly the same choice, corrected Thompson. Eleanor chose to protect you, yes, but she also crafted a larger plan. Every project of the foundation, every transparency initiative, every reform you implemented, it was all part of a gradual change she orchestrated. Emily, who had been analyzing the documents with her journalistic eye, suddenly looked up. There's something more here. In the last few months, Grandma had been investigating a new operation, something related to the commission that Victor is about to take over. William returned to the armchair, intrigued. What kind of operation? It seems that Victor and his associates plan to use the commission to rewrite the rules of the financial market, explained Emily, organizing the papers. Not just to cover up past crimes, but to legalize practices that have always operated in the gray areas of the law. And that would explain why Eleanor chose this moment, added Thompson. Victor's appointment isn't just another move in the game. It's the final play. William picked up Eleanor's last letter, rereading her words. Each sentence now carried new meanings, new layers of understanding. Thompson, he called after a long silence. How much time do we have until Victor's appointment? 10 days, replied the consultant. Why? A familiar gleam appeared in William's eyes, the same gleam that Eleanor had so admired, the one that surfaced when he faced a particularly complex challenge. Because I'm not going to choose any of the options Victor offered, he said, a plan beginning to form in his mind. Eleanor didn't spend decades building a foundation of gradual change for me to throw it all away with a dramatic exposé. Nor did she give me all this information so I could cower and maintain the status quo. Emily leaned forward, intrigued. What are you thinking, Grandpa? Your grandmother was brilliant at seeing connections no one else could, William replied, spreading the documents across the coffee table. She left us all the pieces, the past documents, the recent investigations, the foundation, even the timing of this revelation. It's not about choosing between exposing everything or hiding everything. Thompson began to understand. It's about using each piece the right way at the right time. Exactly, William confirmed. Victor thinks he's backed me into a corner with this ultimatum, but he made the same mistake he made with Eleanor, underestimating someone's ability to transform the system from within. But how? Asked Emily, already grabbing her notebook to take notes. William smiled, a mix of determination and cunning. First, we need to understand exactly what Victor plans to do with the commission. Then we'll use the very structure Eleanor built within the foundation to stop it from happening. And we have to do all of this in 10 days. Thompson poured more coffee, a smile of approval on his face. Eleanor would be proud. She always said you had the gift of turning crises into opportunities. It's not about pride now, replied William, his voice steady. It's about honoring her legacy the right way. Victor wants me to choose between being a hero or a coward, but Eleanor taught me that real change happens in the space between those extremes. The following days turned Michael Anderson's apartment into an improvised operations center. Emily used her journalistic skills to connect information, while William and Michael activated strategic contacts built over decades. The Eleanor Thompson Foundation has representatives on 5 different regulatory committees, explained Michael, pointing to a complex diagram Emily had created. If we can present the right evidence to each committee, we can create a domino effect that will make Victor's maneuvers at the commission much harder, added William, analyzing the documents spread across the table. But we need to be surgical. One wrong move and we lose everything. Emily, who had spent the last few hours investigating Victor's recent past, looked up from her laptop. I found something interesting. Over the past 6 months, Victor has been meeting regularly with representatives from a Swiss bank. The meetings don't appear on his official schedule. Swiss Global Bank, murmured Michael, picking up an old folder. Eleanor mentioned that institution in her last notes. She suspected they would be a key piece in Victor's plans for the commission. William walked over to the window, gazing at the city as he organized his thoughts. Victor has always been methodical. If he's risking unofficial meetings, it's because the bank is crucial to his plans. Look at this, called Emily, turning her laptop. Swiss Global Bank is about to announce a merger with 3 U.S. financial institutions. The timing coincides exactly with Victor's nomination. That's where his real plan comes in, said Anderson, understanding. The merger would create an institution too big to fail. With Victor on the commission, he could approve the merger and set a dangerous precedent, added William. The system Eleanor fought against wouldn't just continue to exist, it would gain legal protection. At that moment, Anderson's phone rang. It was one of his contacts in the financial market. After a brief conversation, his face turned pale. Victor has moved up the nomination process, he announced, hanging up the phone. The vote will be in 3 days, not 10. 3 days? Emily nearly spilled her coffee. How are we going to execute the plan in such a short time? William, however, remained calm. Years of tough negotiations had taught him to think more clearly under pressure. Actually, this might work in our favor. Victor would only move up the process if he were worried. He knows we've discovered something. But we still need concrete evidence about the bank merger, Anderson reminded them. Without it, it's just speculation. The evidence exists, said William, picking up Eleanor's last letter. Your grandmother mentions a vault at the central bank in Zurich. Anderson, do you still have contacts in Switzerland? The consultant smiled. I have better than that. Eleanor left me a specific power of attorney to access that vault. I never knew why until now. Great, William began organizing the documents. Anderson, you're heading to Zurich on the first flight. Emily, I need you to use your press contacts to plant some strategic stories about the bank merger. Nothing direct, just enough to make investors nervous. What about you, Grandpa? Asked Emily, concerned. I'm going to do something I should have done a long time ago, he replied, picking up his phone. I'm calling an extraordinary meeting of the board of the Eleanor Thompson Foundation. Victor is a member of the board, warned Anderson. Exactly, said William, a determined glint in his eyes. Eleanor always said that sometimes you have to enter the system to change it. Well, no one knows that system better than Victor, and it's time to use that against him. As Anderson left to arrange his trip, and Emily began reaching out to other journalists, William found another document among Eleanor's papers. It was an old photo of the Foundation's board, taken on the day of its inauguration. In it, Eleanor was smiling next to Victor, both seemingly united by the cause of corporate transparency. You knew this day would come, didn't you? Murmured William to the photograph. That's why you built everything so carefully, creating a structure that could be used even after you were gone. The sun was beginning to rise over Chicago, painting the sky with shades of hope. In 3 days, the fate of decades of work would be decided. But this time, William wasn't alone. He had Eleanor's legacy with him, the support of his granddaughter, and a deeper understanding of what it truly meant to do the right thing. Thompson, he called out before his friend left, do you remember what Eleanor always said about decisive moments? The consultant smiled, recalling her words. It's not the big battles that change the world, but the small choices we make every day. Exactly, agreed William. And now we have 3 days to prove she was right. The boardroom of the Eleanor Thompson Foundation was packed that morning. The 15 most influential members of the U.S. financial market settled into their leather chairs, curious about the reason for the extraordinary meeting. Victor Castellano occupied his usual seat to the right of the head chair, seemingly calm, but his fingers drumming on the table betrayed his unease. William entered the room promptly at 9 a.m., accompanied by Emily. The presence of the young journalist caused a stir among the board members. It wasn't common for non-members to attend these meetings. "Ladies and gentlemen," William began, his voice calm but firm, "thank you all for being here on such short notice. In recent days, crucial information about the future of our financial market has come to my attention." Victor adjusted himself in his chair, his face a mask of studied serenity. "William, my friend, if this is about the documents we discussed, it's about much more than those documents, Victor," William interrupted, signaling to Emily. She began distributing folders to the board members. "It's about the true purpose of this foundation." On the main screen in the room, a detailed presentation appeared. The first image showed Eleanor in her early years as a financial investigator. My wife, our founder, created this institution with a purpose greater than simply promoting corporate transparency," William continued. "She built it as an instrument for real market transformation." The board members flipped through the folders, distributed by Emily, their expressions shifting from curiosity to concern as they absorbed the information. "This is absurd," protested Victor, standing up. "These documents are clearly manipulated. They're trying to tarnish my reputation on the eve of my nomination to the commission." At that moment, the doors to the room opened. Thompson entered, carrying a briefcase. He had just arrived directly from Zurich. "On the contrary, Victor," said Thompson, placing the briefcase on the table, "every document here has authentication from the Swiss bank, including the records of your secret meetings about the Swiss Global Bank merger." The murmurs in the room grew louder. One of the board members, the president of a traditional bank, stood up. "Is this true, Victor? Are you orchestrating a merger that would affect the entire market without consulting the current commission?" "You don't understand," Victor tried to maintain his composure. "These changes are necessary to modernize our financial system. Eleanor always lived in a world of unattainable ideals." "No," William's voice cut through the air like steel. "Eleanor lived in the real world, where true change requires constant and honest work. She created this foundation not to be just another facade organization, but to be a true agent of transformation." Emily then projected the latest data, charts showing how the merger proposed by Victor would create a dangerous monopoly, evidence of secret meetings, suspicious transfers. "Gentlemen of the board," William continued, "I am not here to destroy reputations or expose scandals. I am here to honor the true purpose of this foundation. Victor is not the only one who has hidden secrets. I too was part of this system unknowingly for years." William's sincere confession caused a stir in the room. Victor, realizing he was losing control of the situation, made his final attempt. "Are you willing to risk everything, William? Your reputation, your legacy, the future of your family?" "No, Victor," William replied, a sad smile on his lips. "I am willing to do what is right. And do you know why? Because I learned from Eleanor that true legacies are not built on lies." Thompson opened the briefcase, revealing its contents. Original documents from the Swiss vault, including records of decades of financial manipulations and, most importantly, a detailed plan by Eleanor to reform the system from within. "The vote for the commission is tomorrow," William said, addressing the board. "I am not asking you to destroy Victor or to support me. I am asking you to honor the purpose of this foundation, to promote real and lasting change in our financial market." One by one, the board members began to express their support. Victor, seeing his plan crumble, stood to leave, but William stopped him with a final remark. "Eleanor told me about that day at Oakwood Manor, Victor, the day you promised her that you would always protect the family. Well, this is protecting the family, ensuring that her legacy is one of truth, not manipulation." The words hit Victor like a physical blow. For the first time, his mask of control completely fell away. In the eyes of the old manipulator, William saw something he never expected to see: remorse. When the meeting ended, hours later, the fate of the commission was sealed. But more importantly, the true purpose of the Eleanor Thompson Foundation had been restored. Yet there was still one last piece of the puzzle to be revealed, one that would forever change William's understanding of the love of his life. The morning after the board meeting, William returned to Oakwood Manor. This time there were no pursuers or threatening secrets, just the quiet peace of a mansion that had held so many stories. Emily and Thompson accompanied him, each carrying their own part of Eleanor's legacy. Victor resigned from the commission candidacy this morning, Emily informed him, checking the news on her phone. The papers are calling it the biggest financial market reform process in decades. William nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. Amid the chaos after the meeting, Thompson had handed him one last envelope, found in the Swiss vault. She asked that you only open this when everything was resolved, his friend had said. Now sitting in the old library of the manor, William finally opened the envelope. Inside was a letter and an old key, different from the one he had found at the cemetery. "My beloved William," the letter began, "if you are reading this, it means you finally succeeded. The system I fought so hard to change is about to transform, and you were the cornerstone of that change, just as I always knew you would be." Emily sat beside her grandfather, while Thompson stood respectfully by the window. The key accompanying. "This letter opens a secret passage here in the manor, my true personal office, where I kept my most precious memories. Do you remember our first meeting? It was no accident. I was investigating corrupt market practices when I found something extraordinary. A young businessman who refused to participate in the schemes, even if it meant losing opportunities." William paused, remembering those early days. Eleanor had entered his life like a gentle hurricane, challenging his ideas about business and ethics. Victor was right about one thing. I did choose him. But not for what you could do for our plan, but for who you already were, a man of integrity in a corrupt world. I fell in love not just with your honesty, but with your ability to see beauty even in the hardest moments. Thompson helped William find the mechanism that activated the secret passage, revealing a room preserved by time. The walls were covered in photos, not just of investigations and documents, but of their life together. Every important moment was there, documented with the same care that Eleanor dedicated to her investigations. "What you're seeing now," the letter continued, "is my true legacy. It's not the documents exposing corruption or the plans to reform the system. It's the proof that it's possible to fight for what's right without losing the ability to love, to dream, to build something beautiful." On one of the walls there was a particular photo that caught everyone's attention. Eleanor and William in their garden, dancing under the sunset, completely unaware of the camera. On the back, a date and a note. "The day I realized I had found something greater than my mission. I know you must be wondering if it was all part of a plan," the letter went on. "The truth is, love was never part of the plan. You were the unexpected variable that changed everything. Every smile, every moment of happiness we shared was real as my fight for a fairer world." Emily, exploring the room, found a box with her name on it. Inside were articles and reports she had written, carefully kept by her grandmother, along with a letter addressed to her. "The last thing I need to tell you, my love, is about the name Sebastian. It wasn't just a code name for my investigations. It was the name I had chosen for our son if we had been blessed with one. When that wasn't possible, I turned Sebastian into a symbol, not of a life we didn't have, but of a legacy we built together." William felt the tears streaming freely down his face. Eleanor had transformed her personal pain into strength, to fight for a better world, never losing her capacity to love. "The true power of change," the letter concluded, "does not lie in documents or exposés, but in the people who choose to do the right thing day after day, even when no one is watching. You, my love, have always been that person. And now, with the help of our Emily, your example will inspire others to follow the same path." Thompson stepped closer, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder. "She built all of this with the future in mind, William. not just to expose the past, but to create a way forward. "The foundation," said Emily, finally understanding. "It's not just a corporate transparency organization, it's a beacon, showing that it's possible to do business ethically." William stood up, taking one last look at the room that held so many memories. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the photographs and documents, no longer secrets, to be revealed, but stories of love, courage, and transformation. "Your grandmother always said that the greatest changes begin with small acts of courage," he told Emily. "Now I understand that she wasn't just fighting against a corrupt system. She was building a new path, one step at a time." As they left, the manor, William carried with him not only the memories and documents, but a deeper understanding of the love of his life. Eleanor had not just been his wife or a secret investigator. She had been a visionary who believed that love and integrity could transform the world. And now, with the sun setting over Oakwood Manor, William knew that his work was only just beginning. Eleanor's legacy lived not just in the documents or the foundation, but in every person who chose to do the right thing, even when the easier path was to give in to the shadows. "Let's go," he said to Emily and Thompson. "We have a lot of work ahead." And so, under the orange sky of Chicago, 3 generations of dreamers left behind a manor full of stories, carrying with them the most precious of legacies, the certainty that love, when allied with courage and integrity, can truly change the world.